This morning we'll be taking a look at Ruth, chapter 2. But as you're turning there, I would also like to make a special, not really announcement, or really a plea, and I am just kind of shooting off the cuff. I didn't talk with anyone about this, but we have an opportunity to show our unity. And you need to take advantage of all those times when national figures bring religious things to mind. And as the president called for a day of prayer for those in our country, in the Houston area suffering through Harvey, I'm going to make you aware that we will be collecting any donations that the church desires to make and passing them through the Southern Baptist Disaster Relief Fund that has been there in Houston and surrounding areas for, I guess since landfall, and plan on being there for the next several months in helping restore homes and bring back somewhat normalcy to life. So through the month of September, if you so desire to give, we just ask that you make a special notation and designation for any relief funds for Hurricane Harvey. Wow, I'm not used to questions that just kind of didn't know how to respond, but I will. You can send it. You can put it here, and we will make sure that we get that. Provided your memo line has Harvey, Houston, disaster relief, we'll find a way to handle that. Hope I didn't make a whole lot of more work as I look out there and see David and Anita, and they both have grins on their face. So they're either wishing a lot of hateful stuff on me or thrilled that I made the announcement and we can do this for the collective effort for our countrymen. Ruth chapter 2. Now Naomi had a relative of her husband's, a worthy man of the clan of Elimelech, whose name was Boaz. And Ruth the Moabite said to Naomi, "Let me go to the field and glean among the ears of grain after him, in whose sight I shall find favor." And Naomi said to her, "Go, my daughter." So she set out and went and gleaned in the field after the reapers, and she happened to come to the part of the field belonging to Boaz, who was of the clan of Elimelech. And behold, Boaz came from Bethlehem, and he said to the reapers, "The Lord be with you." And they answered, "The Lord bless you." Then Boaz said to his young man, who was in charge of the reapers, "Whose young woman is this?" And the servant who was in charge of the reapers answered, "She is the young Moabite woman who came back with Naomi from the country of Moab." She said, "Please let me glean and gather among the sheaves after the reapers." So she came, and she has continued from early morning until now, except for a short rest. Let's pause there. Let's digest what is happening. Let's understand it as those original hearers or those in this time period would have heard it. And while we're looking at this, I hope you can vaguely remember the verses that Pastor John read for us this morning. Same time frame. Pastor John had read how the Israelites had turned their attention away from God and they started following the Baals. Notice Baals plural. Various of the Canaanite gods. They were chasing. Anyone that they found particularly acceptable or helpful, they threw their lot in with. This is the time frame that Ruth has come to Bethlehem with Naomi. Ruth is ready for her life to continue. And we see normalcy setting in. She gets up, she looks at her mother-in-law and says, in the Wiley translation, it's time for me to go and get food for us. Naomi responds, well, thank you, my daughter. But unlike us, this isn't just a quick trip to Wegmans or Kroger or Publix or even Wawa's. It's not nearly that convenient. She has to find a field that's ready for harvest. And according to the laws in Israelite society, there's a special program, we would call it today, where widows and orphans and the extreme poor are allowed to go to the fields where the crops are being brought in, and they are allowed to follow and reap any leftover harvest. Deuteronomy chapter 24 gives us that understanding. It's very simple, it's very basic. Moses tells his people that as they go out and they harvest their fields, they're allowed to make one sweeping walk through the fields. Anything they miss, anything they forget, they're not allowed to double back and re-harvest. It's to be left. Anything that's a little too small to be picked, you leave. You don't get that second go over. It's left for those in the country. It's left for their fellow Israelites to be able to survive. Now, it does require them going out and actually picking and harvesting. See, this was to be Ruth's daily work. But you see, there are usually some issues. Because society is not always friendly to solo individuals. I mean, it's just, I guess, nature. I mean, I watch the National Geographic Channel. I watch Animal Planet. And I personally love the big cat shows. I love lions, I love leopards. My personal favorite are the cheetahs. I can't get enough knowledge on these beasts. Partially because they respond a lot like our one neurotic cat in the house. And I want to know how the big cats think, so if I can understand them, I might be able to protect myself from my scrawny little house cat. The one thing I have always understood, the one thing I realize about all big cats is they have this incredible opportunity and they have this incredible giftedness to take down the one lone straggling anything. If you're watching one of those shows and you see this little antelope stray from the rest of the group, you know which one is going to be the snack. One lone separated from the pack is never a good thing. I mean, let's face it. What's one of the first things we tell our children when they go off with friends? Stay together. That's probably because we want some peer supervision, although as I think of it, sometimes peer supervision's probably not the best. But we've always been taught there's safety in numbers. You get separated, bad things can happen. Well, you know what? It's the same if you were an Israelite back in this time going out into the fields. Well, why is that? Well, did you hear what Pastor John read this morning? The nation as a whole was not a place that was very caring and loving and compassionate. In fact, in certain places in Judges, it says each man did what was right in their own eyes. For there was no king in Israel. There was no authority. There was no one looking out for others. And in that time frame, in those circumstances, we find Ruth in a field owned by a man named Boaz. Now, this is really impressive. I think it's really impressive. And it just so happens the owner of the field, Boaz, shows up at his field that day. Isn't that a wonderful thing? The owner of the business shows up at the business. Personal. And did you catch his greeting? He comes in. Can you just imagine what might happen if the owner of your company, wherever it is you work, would come in, I was going to say Monday morning, but no one's going to work tomorrow, right? Labor Day. Comes in Tuesday morning and greets everybody with the words, "The Lord be with you." Wouldn't that sound strange to our ears? I mean, I'm sure there would be some people that would smile. I'm sure there would be some people who would take a step back and say, okay, what's up here? There might be some grumbles. But this is a unique situation. The owner of the company comes in and he tells his workers, "The Lord be with you," and they come back with, "The Lord bless you." Wow. People working together, caring about each other. What a great novel idea. Something could actually happen here. I guess it shouldn't surprise us that right after this, Boaz says to the young man in charge of the reapers, those hired laborers, his workforce, the manager, Boaz goes up to the manager and he says, "Who's that woman?" He recognizes there is someone in the shop he doesn't know. Realize that? I mean, I've worked a lot of places. I have had some really great jobs. I have had some jobs that weren't really all that great. But I am not sure that I have ever worked anywhere that the owner could show up at the shop that day and say, "I don't know that person. Who is that?" And have interest. Boaz is a unique man. He is a godly man that is thoroughly concerned about those in his fields. It's quickly relayed who she is. She is the young Moabite woman who came back with Naomi from the country of Moab. Did you hear how the manager introduced her? The Moabitess. Remember them? She's that person. You have to almost admire the chutzpah of Ruth. You really do. Because immediately following, she says, almost like, well, I hear you talking about me, so why don't I join in on this conversation? Please let me glean and gather among the sheaves after the reapers. She asked permission. Please let me. You see, while the law was there to allow folks to come by, it made no case for a foreigner. It did for the traveler, it did for the widow, it did for the orphan, it did for the poor, but it never gives the right of reaping to others. So she asks permission. Boaz takes her aside. Reading in verse 8. Then Boaz said to Ruth, "Now listen, my daughter. Do not go to glean in another field or leave this one, but keep close to my young women. Let your eyes be on the field that they are reaping and go after them. Have I not charged the young man not to touch you? And when you are thirsty, go to the vessels and drink what the young men have drawn." Then she fell on her face, bowing to the ground, and said to him, "Why have I found favor in your eyes that you should take notice of me, since I am a foreigner?" But Boaz answered her, "All that you have done for your mother-in-law since the death of your husband has been fully told to me, and how you left your father and mother in your native land and came to a people that you did not know before. The Lord repay you for what you have done, and a full reward be given you by the Lord, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have now come to take refuge." Then she said, "I have found favor in your eyes, my Lord, for you have comforted me and spoken kindly to your servant, though I am not one of your servants." Boaz goes over and beyond. Not only does he meet her request is simple. Let me walk behind everyone on my own, and I will gather the scrapings that I can find. He does one better. He says, join yourself to the ladies under my authority. Go with my young women. He is treating her as one of his own. What does that mean? It means safety. She is not that one lonely, little, scattered, separated individual. She's not easy pickings for the lions and tigers. Oh, what the heck. And bears, oh my. While she might not know those that she's with, there's still the opportunity to have conversation or hear conversation. There's the opportunity to be a part. Oh, and he goes one further. He tells her that he has charged his young men to not touch her. When she needs a break, she can take it. When she is thirsty, she doesn't need to go and draw. She can have part of the resources that the company provides their folk. She is giving privilege and protection. Not because she's earned it, not because she deserves it, because that's the kind of guy Boaz is. And then we hear about it. She asks, why has this favor been placed in me? How is it that you've come to take notice of me? And for the first time she says, a foreigner. Did you catch Boaz's response? Now, it's given in a very eloquent kind of way, and it's given in a very high kind of standard. All that you have done for your mother-in-law since the death of your husband has been fully told me. Doesn't that sound nice? Doesn't that sound good? Well, folks, I'm here to level with you. Let's be honest. Boaz made that sound good. Here's how I know that. Because every time she has come forward, she has been given that title. When she first comes into Bethlehem, even the management in Boaz Fields has given her that title, the Moabitess. Now, it wasn't a lofty title. It was meant to keep her in her place. She is a foreigner. She should know she's a foreigner. She is not one of us. She is not fully acceptable. You notice Boaz never uses that title. Here's how Boaz heard about it. It's the way we hear about so much in our society. It's called gossip. Honestly, that's what went on here. You see, Naomi brought her daughter-in-law, Ruth, the Moabitess. Oh, this should be good. Snarky remarks, the casual put-downs, all aimed at making sure she knows her place. But Boaz will have none of it. He's heard the gossip, but he responds in a way so differently. He doesn't buy into it and accept it. He rises above it, offering even more than has been requested. He realizes that she is placing herself under the God of Israel's wings. Now you see, that's meant to be a comforting picture. When little chicks are in danger, what do? They scurry to mama. And she puts her wings out. You know, it's kind of funny. When I had little kids, when my boys weren't here, they were here, they kind of did the same thing. No matter how much I tried to grow little 5-year-old Michael and 3-year-old Jason into guys. They loved Dad. They wanted Dad a lot, except when they were sick or they were hurt, and then they wanted Mama. And Dad just couldn't do it. And every time they wanted Mama, see, we can talk about them. They're not here this week. And every time they wanted Mama, they went to Julia in a different way than me. They would come up to Dad, even then, with this little swagger. But Mama got this. The arms were always open and wide, and there was the expectation that she would just scoop them up and all would be right with the world for at least 10 seconds. Boaz sees Ruth acting the same way. And why wouldn't she? She's in a strange land with strange people, with strange customs. She knows she's not like one of them. They are making fun of her at every turn. She just needs someone. Anyone. Thank God she found Boaz. He provides her privilege and protection. And at mealtime, Boaz said to her, "Come here and eat some bread and dip a morsel in the wine." So that she sat beside the reapers and passed to her roasted grain. And she ate until she was satisfied, and she even had some left over. When she rose to glean, Boaz instructed his young men, saying, "Let her glean even among the sheaves, and do not reproach her. And also pull out some of your bundles for her and leave it to her to glean. And do not rebuke her." Man, I want to work for Boaz. Yeah, he's being nice. Okay, you guys have harvested this, and it's all ready for taking care of and turning into flour. But you know what? Leave a few of those bundles behind. Let her pick it up. But then the most beautiful part of all of it is do not rebuke her. Do not reproach her. Translation, do not embarrass her. How could she be embarrassed? He has told them, get rid of that horrific title. It is unacceptable here with me. Treat her as one of our own. Treat her with dignity, with respect, with compassion. Man, that all of our bosses were Boazes. That all of our people were Boazes. There's much here for us to learn. We can learn business techniques from this. Know your people, care about your people. Make a difference in their lives. You know, strangely enough, that's just being a good representative of our God. Know the people. Have you ever been somewhere where you didn't know anyone? Maybe you were invited to a party or a get-together and you knew the host. But, you know, let's be honest. When someone's hosting a party, they're busy. You show up and maybe you're a colleague. And it turns out to be all family and friends and you. And you kind of just try to make yourself as small as possible. Because everyone else seems to know each other. You're the odd one there. You're out of place. How reassuring is it when someone comes over and says, "Hey, my name's Jack. How are you doing? I don't believe we've met." I don't know. I feel relieved when that happens. I feel like almost like someone else might want me there. Can you imagine if it's Big Boss Man? When was the last time you extended that invitation to someone you didn't know? We get folks coming through periodically, guests that show up. Do you make yourself known to them? I hope so. It's friendly, it's courteous, it's the right thing to do. When you see someone and you know a little bit about them, whether it's through modern day gossip, whether it's through television, social media, how do you respond to it? Do you lift them up and squelch the garbage? Or are you comfortable saying, oh, well, that's really not my place to get involved? The absence of involvement only allows the gossip to run wild. When given the opportunity to genuinely bless someone else, do we take it? Or do we look around and say, oh man, I'm just so busy. Look at all of my fields. Look at all of my workers. That's just one other person. Or do we get involved in such a way that that one other person comes away with a radically different understanding of the little community they live in? You see, chapter 2 ends with Ruth going back to Naomi. She's taking home her leftovers and her day's work. And her day's work is almost like a week's worth of work. Boaz was showing mercy and compassion. As a church, do we do the same? Now, I know there is a very large number of giving and generous folks here. I've witnessed it. I've seen it. I have seen some of the things that have been given anonymously. Can't we all be like that? Can't we all step in and make a difference? We'll see what a difference it makes in chapter 3 next week. For plans are being started. In fact, Naomi tells Ruth, this man has blessed the living and the dead. You see, that only makes sense if we understand that Naomi has a plan. Naomi has a plan for redemption. And it is truly beautiful and magnificent. In a time that is chaotic and disastrous. Sounds so much like our own days. So Bethlehem, I encourage you to get involved and be a blessing to someone this week. Anyone this week. As our musicians come and lead us and we close, I'm going to ask you to search your heart, search your mind, see what kind of difference you can make. Sometimes that difference only needs to be a phone call or a visit or responding to a little one's staggered, outreached arms. As we are led, pray, brothers and sisters. Prepare yourself for a week of service in Jesus' name.
"'Tis so sweet to trust in Jesus, just to take him at his word, just to rest upon his promise, just to know thus saith the Lord. Jesus, Jesus, how I love him, how I've proved him o'er and o'er. Jesus, Jesus, precious Jesus, to trust him more. Oh, how sweet to trust in Jesus, just to trust his cleansing blood, into simple faith to plunge me, neath the healing cleansing flood. Jesus, Jesus, how I love him, how I've proved him more and more. Jesus, Jesus, precious Jesus, oh, for love to trust him.